Hi, I'm Brett Johnson, former United States most wanted cyber criminal, now good guy, and host of the Brett Johnson Show. Today's episode number 58, when the good guys suck. When we come back. All right, so we are back to the Brett Johnson Show. Today's episode is number 58, when the good guys suck, part 1. Yes, there are multiple parts to this. I could either shot an episode that was going to run, 2.5 to 3 hours, or I could break the damn thing up. So I'm figuring, hey, let's break it up because there's so much sucking that's going on that you just can't contain it in one episode. And I'm not talking about the good kind of sucking either. Talking about the bad kind for any type of person out there that may have your head in the gutter. We run a very clean show over here. We never go in the gutter. We never talk. We never use colorful language, damn it. All right, that being said, let's go right into some viewer mail before we get into the meat of the episode. Right out of the gate, over on YouTube, commenting on episode number 57, Food Stamp Fraud, How Cyber Criminals Steal SNAP Benefits, or the alternate real title of, Hey, a Motherfucker's Gotta Eat. TheOnlyAce, he was worried about, hey, aren't you scared that you're teaching these criminals how to commit crime? He's like, and I responded, yeah, not really. The bad guys already know. And he's like, hey, the Brett Johnson Show, true, but what about people that don't know? Because yes, it's making people aware, but that goes for good and bad people. And hey, you know what? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But here's what I know. I know that anything that I've talked about here, that anyone can do a keyword search over on Telegram and get a hell of a lot more information than I've provided today. Or on that show, rather. And I also know that as far as food stamp fraud, no one really needs that tutorial in order to commit the fraud. The only real takeaway, the good takeaway about that tutorial is that it looks like synthetic identities are just made up people. I said synthetic, they don't have to be synthetic, but just made up people work just fine because you can put dependents on there without any social security numbers. So that's really the only real takeaway from that entire tutorial that I posted there. Here's the thing. I've got a lot of knowledge in cybercrime, identity theft, and I've got a lot of knowledge in how these crimes work, how they should work. So, if I'm seeing something that's somewhat brand new or something, I typically kind of understand the mechanics of the way it works without really having tried it. Food stamp fraud is not difficult to commit. The reason I'm saying that is ever since I've been on the good guy side of things, the only real people that completely don't understand a lot of the ways of the mechanics of cybercrime are the good guys. The bad guys, yeah, I've spoken before about, hey, the bad guys these days, the sophistication is not in the criminal, it's in the platform. That's very true. A lot of bad guys out there, a lot of cyber crooks out there, they don't understand the dynamics of online fraud, of any type of fraud that they're committing, but they don't have to because it's done for them. The good guys don't have that on their end. And a lot of people have never visited Telegram. A lot of people have never been on the dark web. And then how do you expect to know how to defeat or secure yourself against a specific type of crime if you don't understand how it's being committed against you and who is committing it? So that's why I talk about these types of things. That's why I detail how food stamp fraud happens, why I detail what synthetic fraud is and how that's committed, or refund fraud, things like that. The only real people that have trouble understanding and learning the mechanics are the good guys because, they're busier doing other shit than the bad guys are. But I think it's of the utmost importance that they absolutely understand how the crimes are committed and who's committing them. So that's what I do. Do cyber crooks watch my show? Yes, they do. Do cyber crooks know who the hell that I am? Yes, they certainly do, as I illustrated on the Styx marketplace. Gentleman comes and comments later on that, hey, that was really you talking to us. I was like, yeah, that was really me. So yeah, the bad guys watch. I say bad guys. I prefer cyber crooks or cyber criminals. Cyber criminals watch my show. Cyber criminals absolutely pay attention to what I say, and maybe they learn some things sometimes, maybe not. But I do know that when I talk about these types of crimes, I talk about the victims, who the actions are hurting. I talk about the consequences of those actions, things like that. And I think that's important because maybe it will cause maybe some criminal out there, sees the consequences or understands who they're victimizing with those actions. And they say, you know what, I'm not going to commit that crime, or maybe I won't commit any crime. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but hey, that's the way that I am. I'm ever the optimist. I see the glass as half full, not empty. I see the donut, not the hole, and I love the donut. All right, moving right along. From over on LinkedIn, Mark, he sent me a message. He's like, hey, I watched your Snap podcast last night. My takeaway, the criminals are willing to outwork the honest working man for a buck. Am I mistaken in that? I stick to my lane, which is staffing, and I can tell employees have gotten lazy because companies have gotten soft and stupid around their hiring. Well, Mark, absolutely, you are 100% correct. 100% correct. When I was committing crime, one of the things it's really interesting about the top tier cyber criminals that are out there. We have almost a degree of Asperger's about us. We get locked into a subject and we stay on that subject. When I was committing crime, it was nothing for me to be on a computer 16, 18 hours a day. I would typically only take a break to go out and pull money out of ATMs. Okay, so that's very common. It was very common for a lot of the upper tier people on Shadow Crew to have that same type of mindset. And I don't think it's Asperger's per se, but I do think it's Asperger's, a degree, some sort of something like that just getting so focused on something that you don't veer away from that. The amount of work, and it's not just cybercrime. I served prison time, 7.5 years. And what I saw and talking to the people, the inmates that I knew, whether it be drug dealers or drug dealers, because there's a lot of drug dealers in prison. But whatever the crime was that someone had committed, typically they would work far harder at that, many more hours at that, than someone on the good guy side, 9 to 5 or a 10-hour job or something like that. There's something really to this idea of the term criminal lifestyle. It's not a 9 to 5 job. It is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's constant. You're constantly on point, constantly looking at how to profit through criminal activity. That takes precedent above everything. What's interesting with me is, now that I've translated over to the good guy side, I still have that degree of Asperger's syndrome. I absolutely still have that. So I'm still, I wake up working, I go to sleep working, and sometimes my wife or family, if we're needing to go out to dinner or needing to leave to go someplace, it's not uncommon that they will, have to get on my case. Hey, we need to go. And then I'll get angry that I'm being pulled away from what I'm focusing on. So you're right in saying that the bad guys absolutely outwork the good guys. Absolutely. Now, there may be somebody out there, I work my fingers to the bone. Well, you may. But I'm telling you again that in mass, the bad guys far outwork the good guys. You don't have to like it. You don't have to accept it. But by God, that's the way it is. So just understand that. Moving right along to the next. Let's see what else we've got here. Okay, close that one down. Go to the next question. A bit about an update about Styx market. So I have a working theory. First of all, it's not a legitimate market. I showed why in that short video episode that I put out about Styx market being a fake marketplace. It is absolutely not a legitimate marketplace. It has all the flags of something being horribly, horribly wrong. Is it a scam marketplace that criminals have set up in order to scam people? That is absolutely a possibility. Another possibility is that it could very well be a honeypot. A honeypot. So we've been looking around a little bit, and some of the things that we found is kind of interesting, but it has hosting connections with a company called 1337 is the name of the company. Now, what's interesting about that specific company, 1337 Services LLC out of Nevis, we'll go ahead and share our screen here so you'll see what the devil Brady's talking about. So this is the hosting services of Styx Marketplace in Nevis. So you know exactly where the boxes are. You know where the servers are located, which I find extremely interesting. Now, what's interesting about 1337 is they have hosted a slew of questionable websites. They had connections to breached forums that was shut down by law enforcement not too long ago. They've hosted phishing sites, things like that. They have connections. One of the investors / owners is one of the guys who started Pirate Bay, who had his ass in prison for a little while. So these days they're in St. Kitts and Nevis, and they're still hosting questionable websites, breached forums, Styx Market, things like that. What I would, I've got a working theory. And my working theory is that someone in their infinite wisdom that didn't really understand how to set up a marketplace decides that they need a marketplace. And that person who's deciding that, and this is just a theory, like I said, it could just be a scam marketplace. But if it's a honeypot, I would say that whatever government agency decided to set that up didn't know what in the hell that they were doing. Or they got somebody out of jail, or somebody is staying out of prison in order to do this stuff, and they didn't know what the hell they were doing, because it's got all the flags of everything that could possibly be done wrong on a marketplace. And it's got these connections to a hosting service that if I were a criminal, and I used to be, but if I were still a criminal and I saw the connections that 1337 has to sites that have been shut down, to who the owners are, the investors, things like that, I would absolutely veer away from that as quickly as fucking possible. So I think there's issues over at Styx Market, as I have detailed in my previous episodes. Just wanted an update on that. Moving right along. All right, I went up to Missouri and keynoted a conference, banking conference. I love talking to bankers because they listen. And not only that, but I get about 2 hours to talk. So I can go through my entire story and talk about cybersecurity at the same time. We take a short break after my bio, then we go over and we talk about cybersecurity, and I scare the shit out of everybody and then tell them how, hey, don't be so scared. This is how you can protect yourself. So I was there, and after my presentation, I usually have people that come up and talk to me, and people who watch this show, I mentioned last week on the food stamp episode that, basically my show, the Brett Johnson Show, is a support group that's wrapped in cybersecurity and cybercrime talk. And that's really what it is on stage too. It translates like that to stage because I talk about my problems, trying to become a healthy individual. And I always try to learn something new about myself when I'm on the stage. And this last time that I was on the stage, I'm coming to terms with my father. I mentioned before that, I've been saying he was a good guy, that, he had just kind of forgot that. And it's really, I'm coming to the conclusion now, well, he's just a guy. He's just a guy. He's neither good or bad. He's just a guy. He's done some good things. He's done some bad things. He was the adult when me and my sister were in that abusive situation, and he didn't lift a finger. Disappointing is what I would say. Completely and entirely disappointing that someone just didn't want to get involved. That was your parent, didn't want to step in to save the children that was there. It's done now. And I'm coping with that. And processing that, and that's becoming evident with these last two. I gave a presentation in Missouri last week. Yesterday, I gave a presentation here in Birmingham to the Southeast Cybersecurity Conference. And as I'm talking, it's absolutely changed the feel of some of my presentations, because it's now, I'm sitting there like, I honestly don't understand how someone can do that. I don't understand how you've got two children there, and the environment, and you came from a good family. My dad came from a good family. So he knew the environment, and he just didn't do anything. So I'm processing that. I love the man. I forgive him absolutely, but that doesn't mean I'm not processing this right now. And that comes out of my presentations. That's not what I'm talking about with Missouri, though. I just wanted to share that. After my presentation in Missouri, this lady comes up to me, and she was very emotional, and she thanked me for turning my life around. She said it was really something to see. And then she starts telling me about some of her children. She's got a blended family. So the husband brought children of his own. She had children of her own. They blended together. But also one of her, I think it was her sister or something. Her sister had lost her kids because of abuse. And so her kids come to live with this lady as well. Two kids, one 16, one 15. The 15-year-old, from what my understanding, is doing everything right, is very productive, as healthy as you could expect. The 16-year-old has issues. Stays out all night, maybe some sort of drug issues too. I'm not quite sure what all it was. She didn't really explain it all to me. But she was talking about that, and she was very emotional, because what had happened was, I guess this kid, this 16-year-old, had stayed out all night, or then came in raising hell. The parents approached him, and you can't do that here. You can't do that. And he strikes the woman with both hands. Strikes her with the chest like that. Just pushes her. It's a hit. And she, at that point, that was the line in the sand. She's like, "You have to leave here." And she was very distraught, because it was evident that she loved this child. And I was telling her, I was like, you have to understand the reason that the 15-year-old is much more healthy is because the oldest child got the brunt of that abuse. Whether that oldest child understands it or not, maybe just subconsciously understands it, but he stood in the way of those parents abusing the younger one. He was the protector of that. So I was telling her that, and I was like, you also need to understand that, it's his choice whether he's able to come out of this abuse, whether he continues down the road he's going on, or whether he makes a choice that, hey, I don't have to do this. I can choose a different path. And I was telling her, you need to understand that. And she was saying she did. And I said, look, I know that you think you understand that, but it's evident to me that you don't understand that you really don't, that it's his choice. And it was obvious that she was blaming herself. She had tears in her eyes. And I told her, I said, you need to understand that really the things that you can't control, don't let them control you. It's his choice to do this. What you can control is your actions, your behavior in this. So, and she hadn't spoken to the kid in maybe a week or something. And I was like, what I would do, she's like, I just don't think I'm ready to speak to him. And I was like, well, what you can do is, even if you don't want to speak to him, even if you don't want to speak, what you can do is you can send him a text message. I love you. I just want you to know that I love you, regardless of everything that's going on right now. I love you. And I said, what you should do, what I would do, is I would text this child this every single day. That way he at least knows that he's loved. And I was telling her, hey, it doesn't matter. We all make mistakes in raising children, but as long as you're raising those children with love, not in anger or spite, but just with love in mind, yeah, you'll make mistakes, but you're going to go along that right path. Absolutely, you are. So I was telling her that, and of course, I was applying that to my life too, with my sister, how she turns out much more healthy than I did, and it really hit me that I was that big brother that kind of stood in the way of her getting a lot of the Not that she didn't get abuse. By God, she did. She absolutely did. But I was that big brother that got the most of it, I guess. And it led me down that, I don't like to say it led me down that life of crime, because I made the choice to commit crime. But by God, it laid the path if I wanted to make that choice. Yeah, with my dad, I just don't get. I guess I agree with my sister on that. I don't get how you can have children and see what's going on and just choose, because everything's a choice. Just choose not to get involved, to just let it go. That being said, let's try to, I would say we're going to go into brighter, sunnier, happier pastures, but we are absolutely not. When we come back, the meat of the episode, we're going to be talking about, because we're splitting this episode up into a few different parts. When the Good Guys Suck, part 1, we're going to talk about chargebacks 9/11 and everything that's going on there when we come back to the Brett Johnson Show. All right, so we're back to the Brett Johnson Show, the meat of the episode, when the good guys suck. So in case no one has been paying attention on this show, on LinkedIn, on my Twitter feed, just overall to anything I've been complaining about the past several months, I have a lot of building, of increasing apathy towards some security companies, towards cybersecurity professionals, toward people in general who absolutely understand the problems that are out there and how to solve those problems, but aren't doing a damn thing to stop it. They're not speaking up. They're not speaking out. I was talking to Paul Eckloff. He's a gentleman that's over at LexisNexis. I was talking to Paul Eckloff the other day, and he made a very good point. He was talking about financial institutions, and he said, hey, the tools are actually already in existence on how these companies, how financial institutions can secure themselves. And I saw that, and I was like, yeah, you're damn right. They absolutely are. The problem is that you've got a whole shitload of companies that are out there that don't want to put the money into making things secure. At the same time, you've got a whole boatload of security companies that are out there that aren't looking about how to stop the actual crimes from taking place. They're just looking on how to stop the fires that pop up along the way. That's a lot of the issue. And I was talking on Twitter to several different people about this, and commercial interests are really the driving force of why cybercrime is so successful. Companies not willing to put in the money, companies looking to profit off of the crimes that are being committed. Instead of taking care of the main issue, they put out the little fires that go along the way, things like that. That's not as much as I want to talk about that, and I'm going to have an episode where I do nothing but rail on and on about that. Today, I want to talk about how the people who we think are good guys, who are supposed to be good guys, who are supposed to help protect us, make our lives more secure and safer, sometimes that's not the case. If you look at the Fortune 30, the Fortune 30 under 30, a lot of those people are facing jail time. A whole boatload of those people are facing jail time. One of them, and let me pull this up because it's absolutely just friggin' bizarre. So give me just a second while I pull this up. Let's see. I said Fortune. I think it's the Forbes 30 under 30. Pretty sure. Forbes 30 under 30. That's right. And it was actually an article from The Guardian. I'm going to pull that up right now. Share screen so everyone can go through this with me. And I'll have the links, of course, in the show notes. But the name of this article is 30 under 30-year sentences. Why so many of Forbes' young heroes face jail. This lady right here, Charlie Jabbis. What this numbnuts does is she starts this company called Frank, which she calls it the Amazon for higher education, and it's supposed to help those people who are about to go into college to acquire financial aid. That's a lofty, noble goal. She sells her company to JP Morgan Chase, for $175 million in 2021. And when she sold it, she claimed that over 5 million students at over 6,000 colleges. Now, why is JP Morgan Chase interested in something like that? Well, the reason JP Morgan Chase is interested in something like that, if you've got that many millions of students in a database with all their information, these students are needing financial aid and everything else, it's very easy to market other financial services to those 5 million people. So they're paying for that database of students and leads is what they're basically doing. Yeah, you know, the Frank thing, it'll make us money and everything else, but think about how many credit cards as these kids go off and start up their credit lives, they're going to need credit cards. They're going to need car loans. They're going to need home loans. We can right now get them right as they're starting there, and they can be Chase people for the rest of their lives. So it's well worth $175 million for those 5 million plus leads. The only problem is Charlie Javis, in her infinite wisdom, she didn't have 5 million people. She had at most 300,000. So what this bitch does, excuse my language, but what this bitch does is she goes off and pays a data scientist to create fake people. Shit, I didn't know it, but I'm a data scientist myself. I can do that all day, every day. She should have paid me, only I wouldn't have done it because I'm not breaking the law anymore. But she could have easily found some numbnuts over in Telegram to do that crap, but no. She pays this data scientist to do this. And of course, the data scientist tells everything as Chase pays her $175 million. And they start to notice that, hey, it looks like these people ain't real. Well, no shit, they're not real. So, of course, she is facing jail time, of course. And it goes down and talks about numbnuts here. Sam Bankman-Fried, asshole that he is. Hopefully he'll get nothing but 30 years in prison. Who else have we got? It talks about Martin Scarelli. It talks about all these people in the Fortune or the Forbes 30 under 30 that are facing jail time. So people who are, you know, it talks about Elizabeth Holmes. People who are absolutely entitled, who had the best of educations, who had the best of opportunities, and squander those away to commit crime. And what this article says at the end of it, which I think is kind of interesting. The problem is the vision of success that we've been sold and fetishizing of youth. 30 under 30 isn't just a list. It's a mentality, a pressure to achieve great things before youth slips away from you. The pressure can lead certain ambitious people to take shortcuts. And in fact, shortcuts are encouraged. Millennials, after all, grew up being told, quote, fake it till you make it, end quote. Cash in now until you become a withered, irrelevant 30-year-old prune. If you exaggerate a little, that's not fraud, that's hustle. Until, of course, the Justice Department comes knocking. I think that's part of it. I do. I think that's part of it. But I also think that a lot of it is we now live in a society where no one wants to be responsible for any action that they commit at all. We've been told, hey, it's not your fault. It's systemic in the system. We've been told the government will take care of you. We've been told, hey, you can't help it. It's your neighborhood or it's your parents that caused this. So we've been taught and told that nothing is our responsibility. So it's very easy for us to not take responsibility for our actions. And I'm going to tell you, when you don't take responsibility for your actions, you are completely powerless at that point. You are. It took me years. I was in my, how old was I? I was almost 40 years old when I finally accepted responsibility for my life. And I will tell you that when I said this last episode, I'll say it this episode too. When you accept responsibility for your life, that is an extremely powerful thing. It is, because at that point, you know that you have a choice. The choice is you can lay down and take it, or the other choice is you can get off your ass and do something about it. If you never accept responsibility, if you always blame it on something else, something bigger than you, it's the government, it's the systemic system. It's everyone's against me. If you always blame it on something else, you feel powerless. And that feeling of being powerless equates to you thinking you have no actual choice in the matter. And that in itself is a choice. You are laying down and taking it at that point in time. The same thing applies to the company I'm going to talk about today. And here's the thing. You guys know, if you've been following me for any length of time, you know that I'm going to say the things that need to be said. You know that. A few years ago, I was on a stage giving a keynote presentation with Carice Hendrick, and I called Synchrony Bank a bunch of assholes. Now, the reason I called Synchrony Bank a bunch of assholes is I had been told by merchants, I had been told by my co-host, I had been told by all these people that, hey, Synchrony is treating their customers being SMBs, Synchrony is treating their customers improperly. They're really going overboard. They're for example, their contracts are really just bam, 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 really overreaching. So that was part of the issue. The other issue that I've been told about was that Synchrony would identify something as synthetic fraud, yet they would tell the merchant that it was regular identity theft. And the reason they did that was because the merchant, as long as a fraudulent credit card charge or a new account was just regular identity theft, the merchant was responsible for paying that. But if it was synthetic fraud, the responsibility no longer fell on the merchant. It fell back on Synchrony. And Synchrony was failing to disclose that they knew a lot of the accounts were synthetic fraud. So, of course, I get up there. I'm the guy that, hey, I say the stuff that I'm going to say. I get up there and I'm like, yeah, Synchrony Bank, bunch of assholes. Well, Synchrony was in the audience, and the end result was that ultimately I lost a friend that was a co-host of Fraudology. And I also have never been invited back to the Card Not Present group. I actually got to talk to, I was in Cleveland at a conference, and we had this shindig at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which I've toured the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I liked it, but I don't think I ever need to go back again. I'm sorry. I just don't think I ever need to go back again. I saw some nifty guitars. All right. That's about all I saw. Don't think I ever need to go back again. But while I was there were some of the CMP head honchos that, they called me over and we were talking and bullshitting. We were friendly and everything. And, I brought it up. I was like, yeah, I know. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. I'll never be back at you guys' place again. And they were like, yeah, truth has consequences, Brett. And I'm like, yeah, I understand. I do. I understand. I get it. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to tell the truth, that I'm not going to call out the things that need to be called out. Today is about how the good guys suck, how the people who are supposed to be doing the right thing, like the Forbes 30 under 30, entitled individuals, great upbringings, solid parental foundations, very, very had every opportunity given to them, and they go out and commit fraud and harm people and victimize other people. I don't understand that. I don't. I understand it from the people that I served time with, by and large. I mean, there were some entitled people there that had all the opportunities. Dave Hupper, for example, I served time with him, and he was as close as you could find to me as a brother while we were in prison. But his dad had ran the education fund for the state of Pennsylvania. He came from a very good family. His parents absolutely loved the hell out of him and raised him properly, but he became a meth head and just a dumbass overall. He got his ass out. He stole he tried to apply for a passport illegally. He got some time on that. Once he got out of that, he starts running meth back and forth across the Mexican border for the Sinaloa cartel. So I mentioned before to some people that I know people that are in the Sinaloas, and I do. I absolutely do. Dave was one of them, but I know some of the actual people that are Sinaloa. Dave gets out. I think his out date right now is 2043. His dad has died. His mom will die while he's serving time in prison. That's his choice. I keep talking about choice. We've got choices. We can either do the right damn thing, or we can choose to do like some of these Forbes 30 under 30 people do, or like Chargeback911 do, like Cash App does, like some of these prepaid debit card suppliers, like Blue Acorn does, like Womply does, where we help, where these companies help facilitate crime when the good guys absolutely suck, and not in the good way. So that's what we're talking today is, when the good guys suck, when you're supposed to be doing that right thing, when you're supposed to be helping people, and you're not. I spent a lifetime, an absolute lifetime, victimizing people, committing crime. I was absolutely scum of the earth. There was no redeeming feature about me at all. At all. Thing is when I turn my life around, I'm like that recovering alcoholic. I'm kind of a teetotaler now. I don't see gray areas. I see black and white. So I see these companies that help facilitate crime. Cash App. And I'm going to talk more about Cash App in other episodes. This is part one, where we're talking about Chargebacks911. The next episode will be the next part. I'm not sure it'll be in the next episode, but part two of When Good Guys Suck. We'll talk about Blue Acorn and Womply and how they helped facilitate pandemic fraud. And I've got a lot of confidential documents that aren't supposed to be viewed and everything else, but I've been reading the hell out of those. And I will tell you, somebody over there needs to serve a shitload of prison time. Right now, we're talking about Chargebacks911. It was interesting because I am the guy these days that is known for saying the things that needs to be said. So because of that, I get a lot of people that reach out to me that, because of their position, they don't want to speak up, or they don't want to speak out. Now, here's the thing. I don't mind that. I don't. The people that I mind are the people that won't speak up, won't speak out, or won't talk to somebody that will speak up and speak out. And there's a whole shitload of people like that because they're scared of losing a contract, a friend, a client, a job, just upsetting someone. But at the end of the day, most of it is because they're scared of losing profit. If someone comes and tells me, hey, this is what's going on, you need to look at this, by God, I'm going to look at it. I absolutely am going to look at it. And if I see something that's wrong, I'm going to call it out, because that's what I do. So I got a message the other day. Someone was like, hey, Chargebacks911 has done all this stuff, and no one is talking about it on LinkedIn. Now, we all know that LinkedIn is where you have your business discussions. LinkedIn is like Facebook for business. Is what it is. It's a cleaner version of Twitter. It's business oriented, is what it is. Usually, and I'll tell you, if I go and I find, if I talk about some sort of criminal bit that I find on Telegram, crooks are doing this, and I post a snapshot of it, or someone posts a snapshot or an indictment of a cyber criminal being caught, and this guy's going to get 30, 40 years or what have you by the time the case is disposed of. The LinkedIn feedback from that community is huge. You have people in the industry that will come in, they'll like it, they'll remark about it, they'll say, yes, do it. This guy was wrong. He needs to serve all the prison time he needs to get, everything else. But when you do it, when you point out a company that has done something wrong, you have almost the exact opposite response. A lot of people in the industry keep their mouths shut. Oh, you'll get views. Oh, yeah, they'll view the post, but they won't like it. They won't support it. And by God, they won't comment on it. So this individual who reached out and was talking about Chargebacks911, they said, hey, no one's really saying anything. They're not paying attention. Well, no, they're paying attention. The problem is that they're scared to speak up because, hey, Chargebacks911 did a lot of business. They had a lot of clients. They make a lot of money. So you don't want to speak up because, hey, Chargebacks may have been, you may have been one of their clients, a company you work for. Or you may be, trying to sign on and make some money. You may be scared of losing a contract or a friend or upsetting someone, being a pariah in the industry. So you keep your damn mouth shut. When you keep your mouth shut, that's what's interesting. You know, I talk about things on the cybercrime side. And what I've said in the past is one of the first lessons of cybercrime is if you delay a victim long enough, you just keep putting them off. A lot of them get exasperated, throw their hands in the air, walk away. You don't hear from them again. And none of them complain to law enforcement. None of them speak up or speak out. And when you don't do that, it tells the criminal that everything's fine, that they can continue going on, doing whatever they want to without fear of consequence. That works the exact same way in the corporate world. So you see, the secret of all this is that most people know exactly what's going on. That's the apathy that I'm feeling right now. Most people know exactly what's going on. Most people know exactly what needs to be done to secure the internet, to mitigate a lot of the online crime that's happening. We absolutely know that, but we're not doing it. We're not speaking up about it. We're not speaking out about it. When we see a company that is doing wrong, that is facilitating crime, typically a lot of people, I don't, but a lot of people keep their mouths shut. They don't say anything about it. They just remain quiet because they're scared of saying anything. And maybe that fear is justified. I don't know. I've never had enough sense to be scared about that. Maybe that's part of my problem. I've never, we all know I've got authority issues. I mean, books have been written about it. I have issues with authority. You can ask anybody. I have issues with authority. And you can also ask anybody. I absolutely do speak out without fear of consequence. You're not going to tell me what to say or what not to say. I'm going to say whatever I want to. And let the, hell be damned. So we're going to walk through some of this stuff about chargebacks. The thing is that, have you guys heard of Enzyte? I'm sure you have. So if you've not, let's pull up Enzyte so that we can talk about this, because it absolutely pertains to what we're talking about today. How does that pertain, Brady? What is Enzyte? Well, Enzyte, here, let me share a screen. So Enzyte is a penis pill. That's right. It's for your tallywhacker, your Johnson, your dolphin, whatever you want to call it, your third leg, whatever that is. Yeah, we're getting it. We're getting some energy now. So Enzyte is a herbal, and I say herb, not herb, because it's got a fucking H in it. Enzyte is a herbal nutritional supplement originally manufactured by Berkeley Premium Nutraceuticals. The marketing of Enzyte resulted in a conviction and prison term for the company's owner and mother and bankruptcy of the company. The product is out, and the product's still around. You guys may remember the product. Looked like that. There was a NASCAR. That was an Enzyte NASCAR. This guy right here was Bob. He was kind of their commercial spokesperson. If you don't remember, I'm going to stop. Am I not sharing? Oh, I'm not sharing screen. Let's back this shit up so we can share a screen. We need to show this. All right. So as I was saying, so Enzyte, there's the Wikipedia, and we'll have it so you guys can read on it. All right. So what happens is this guy starts this penis pill thing in Cincinnati, Ohio, running the business out of his mom's basement. Before it's over, he owns like 2 square blocks of having to manufacture these pills. That's what the tablets looked like. There's the spokesperson, Bob. There was a NASCAR. There was an Enzyte NASCAR that you could watch run the track at Talladega or Daytona or whatever. Zoom, 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 zoom. And every Christmas, you would see the commercials with Bob. And Bob would have this big shit-eating grin on his face because Enzyte supposedly made your schlong bigger. So Bob, every Christmas, you'd see the commercials, and all the women and all in the neighborhood, they'd sit on Bob's lap, and Bob would give them a happy-go-lucky pony ride, much to the chagrin of all the wives' husbands, because the implication was that the husbands weren't taking Enzyte. But Bob was, and Bob had one about like that, and he could satisfy everyone and anyone as long as they needed to be satisfied. So you too need to sign on to Enzyte because, hey, you are nothing but a bug fucker, you little guy. That was Enzyte. The problem was Enzyte didn't work because here's the thing, there is no pill to make your penis bigger. It's the size it's going to be. Now, I spent a lifetime trying to make mine bigger. Tie a brick onto it, let it hang down, tie a string onto it, onto one part of it, and then the other end of the string onto a doorknob and slam the door as hard as you can. That don't feel good, but, you try. And I spent a lifetime of my adolescent years stretching it daily, trying to get some extra length. It don't work, and there's no pill that does that. The thing about Enzyte is they would give you a free trial. And this absolutely leads into chargebacks and some of the shit that they were doing. Okay. The thing about Enzyte is they would give you a free trial. You call them up. Hey, we'll give you a couple, 3 months free. Just give us your credit card number. That way we can keep going if you want to continue on with it. What they didn't tell you is that, and it offered a money back guarantee. They didn't tell anyone that the small print actually read that, hey, yeah, we'll give your money back, but for you to get your money back, you have to go to your primary physician, and your primary physician has to certify that your penis has not grown at all. So if you really want your money back, you got to go to your doctor, and you got to tell your doctor you've been taking these little shitty tablets, and your penis, because your penis is so small, and these little shitty tablets did not make your penis grow at all. Now, I don't know any man on the planet that is going to admit to his doctor, to a woman, to anybody else, that his penis is small and he resorted to these tablets because he wanted to be like Bob and screw everything in the neighborhood. So needless to say, a lot of people did not go that route. And at the same time, the people who did cancel their credit card payments, Enzyte was very good about re-upping them. So they didn't want to let them out of these recurring billing statements, and they continued to re-up that thing. Now, bear that in mind. Now, what happens is ultimately that shit's against the law. Of course it is. It's against the law. So Enzyte, the owner, he goes to prison. His mom goes to prison. They declare bankruptcy. They have to forfeit like $500 million. I think they're still in prison today. The company is still around. It sells to somebody. I don't know who it sells to. The interesting thing is about these tablets like this is as long as, where is that section? Let me read that. It's really interesting. Because Enzyte is a herbal product, again, I say herb, not herb, because it's got a fucking H in it. Because Enzyte is a herbal product, and this is with any herbal product, no testing is required by the USDA. So, yeah, you can put out whatever you want to and claim whatever you want to, and most of the time, you're going to get by with it. All right. Now, Enzyte anymore, I don't even think they say that it increases penis size. No, it doesn't. So it says it maximizes. Let's share this screen because this is kind of neat the way they advertise it now. So Enzyte today maximizes erectile quality and stamina, heighten readiness and response, boost confidence and spontaneity, aka Enzyte don't do shit, which is a lot of the way that a lot of the herbal medication works. Now, the reason I say that, what you see as a merchant, okay, I just let Enzyte stick in your head for a second as we pivot over towards something else, talking about chargebacks, all right? There is absolutely a boatload of chargeback fraud that goes on. It's called first-party fraud. It's called friendly fraud. I prefer first-party. The industry, in their infinite wisdom, decided to call it friendly fraud. I think they've kind of backtracked over the past couple of years, and they're now calling it first-party fraud. Whatever the hell you want to call it, it's when a customer decides that they're going to commit fraud. All right. It's when a customer, they get a product in, they claim they didn't receive the product, so they get a refund for it. Okay. It's when a customer gets a product in or takes a vacation. They book a vacation on Expedia or something like that. They go on vacation. They enjoy the vacation. Everything is great. Then when they get back home, they claim it was not as advertised, not as described is the right term. All right. And they get what's called a chargeback. The credit card company reimburses them because it was not as described, not as advertised. All right. So that's what's called first party fraud. And you've got a whole slew of that goes on. You've got a whole slew of merchants and retailers out there that they don't have the time to fight a lot of the chargebacks that take place. Because of that, you've got an entire industry of companies that handle that type of chargeback resolution. So whatever the company is, whatever the retail merchant is, they'll send their chargebacks over to someplace like Chargeback911, and Chargeback911 will go and fight those chargebacks. They'll inform the insurance, the credit card company that, hey, we're contesting this, and this is why we're contesting. The customer agreed to send this money. The customer agreed to the terms and conditions. The customer knew the product they were getting, blah, 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 blah. And because of that, these companies like Chargeback911, they save merchants and retailers millions of dollars a year by contesting the chargebacks. If they weren't contesting it, the retail merchant doesn't have the time nor the inclination to do that, and they would be in the hole several $1 million a year. But by signing on one of these chargeback companies, they're able to save themselves several $1 million a year. Most of these companies are above board. They do the things that they need to do very ethically and within the law. All right. They're a benefit. They are not a detriment. However, it appears that the number one company that's out there, Chargeback911, according to the FTC and according to the state of Florida, they have not been doing things ethically. They have not even been doing things legally. They have been doing things illegally. So the FTC, as the headline says, we're going to go through some of this stuff. As the headline says, FTC Florida Attorney General sue Chargeback911 for thwarting consumers who were trying to reverse disputed credit card charges. Complaint charges that, quote, chargeback mitigation company used misleading screenshots, bogus transactions on behalf of scammers. It goes on down here. There's an interesting quote right there. Chargeback911 helped scammers stay in business and defeat chargeback attempts by consumers hit with fraudulent charges. And that's the director of the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection. The FTC will continue to take aggressive action against those who undermine consumers' ability to exercise their rights. According to the complaint, Chargeback911 has regularly sent screenshots on behalf of their clients to credit card companies that supposedly show that consumers had agreed to the disputed charges, often recurring monthly subscription charges. So remember Enzyte, recurring monthly subscription charges. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. The complaint notes that in many instances, these screenshots have not actually been from the website where consumers made the disputed purchases, and that the company ignored clear warning signs the website's screenshots were misleading. And it gives an example. It says a screenshot sent by 911 and a screenshot of the site actually used by the consumer, both images from the complaint. And you can see that both images are completely different. The consumer sees one, however, the credit card company was sent another. All right. So that's just one of the things that goes on. What else was there? There was something called, this is really neat too. There were in many instances, according to the complaint, where Chargeback911 submitted screenshots of websites on behalf of Apex Capital and Media, where the name on the product on the sites and the screenshots did not even match the brand name of the product for the disputed purchase. So they were just sending shit in, and it was being, approved for Chargeback911. Here's the other part. The complaint also charges that Chargeback911 used a system called Value-Added Promotions, VAP, which allowed the company's clients to run numerous small dollar transactions via prepaid debit cards. By doing so, clients could raise their total number of transactions and lower the percentage of the charges that were disputed by customers. Now, the reason you do that, so here's what's going on. All right. Customer signs on to Apex Capital, Media. We're going to go through the FTC complaints on them in just a second, but customer signs on to that. They get roped into this recurring billing cycle. Basically, they offer, like Enzyte does, are used to, a free trial. We'll give you a free trial. We need your credit card information. Just, you're going to pay for shipping or whatever the hell the thing is. You're going to do that. So you get the free trial. And then what happens is Media, Apex Capital, they start to charge you. Bam, 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 recurring. So you notice this. Hell, maybe you notice it immediately. Maybe it takes you 3, 6, 9 months to notice that, hey, shit, I'm paying $29 a month for something I don't even know what the hell this is. So then you go and dispute the charges. Hey, I didn't know they were going to charge me monthly for this. The chargeback is so if I bank with Chase, I notify Chase that, hey, I did not authorize these charges. That's a chargeback. All right. Chase then notifies Media that, hey, Brett Johnson is disputing the charges. Media at that point then kicks that paperwork over to Chargeback911. Chargeback911 is going to handle that dispute on Apex Media or Media's behalf. Okay. So what the FTC in the state of Florida says is, hey, what they were doing is they were just sending bullshit over. The screenshots that they were sending was not even the screenshots that I saw when I signed on to the free trial. They were just sending this shit over in order to win the dispute, and they were winning the dispute. You see, it's not just cyber criminals like I used to be that commit crime. It's corporations that commit crime. It's that Forbes 30 under 30 that commit crime. So that was the case right there. Now, is that unethical? Yes. Is that illegal? Yes. Now, before we go on, I want to say this. The way that this case will be disposed of, the actual outcome of what will happen, more than likely, is Chargeback911 will settle. All right. They'll pay some fee, some fine, probably without having to admit any guilt whatsoever. I don't really give a damn. I just want everyone to know this is the shit that goes on. This is when the bad guys or when the good guys suck. We know the bad guys suck, but sometimes the good guys suck too. This is not the way business should be done. This is not the way. That is, and I'm saying this to keep myself legal. That is, as long as the allegations turn out to be true. Perhaps they're not. We're working on the hypothesis that the allegations toward Chargeback911 are absolutely 100% factual. So moving right along. Turns out the Chargeback911, they didn't like that shit being said. So they decided to respond. The response was, responded to allegations, and this is on digital transactions. Post this article, and these links, again, will be in the show notes. Chargeback911 response to allegations it undermined chargeback disputes. In response to allegations, Chargebacks issued this statement. Since 2012, Chargeback911 has been dedicated to supporting the growing needs of businesses facing the high volume of chargebacks and disputes. We have always followed all rules, laws, and processes, and will aggressively defend the purpose of our business, the privacy of our clients, and our own corporate ethics and reputation against overreach by the government and its various policing bodies. So, they said that the suit, the charges, everything was unfounded, unjustified, blah, 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 blah. Now, I got to tell you, my personal opinion, I don't believe a damn word of that. I don't. I think that they're coming out there. They've got to say something. So they're saying we're going to fight it. That it's all about it's all about doing the right thing. No, it's all about the money. Let's be honest. It's all about the money. Last but not least, I went over to the Better Business Bureau. where they have Chargebacks911 has an F rating. It has one alert in place. So we're going to read part of the alert, then we're going to have some commentary on that. Since at least 2016, Chargebacks911 has, for numerous clients, used misleading information to contest chargebacks. It has routinely submitted screenshots of web pages to support the claim that consumers were informed of terms and conditions that appeared on those pages, even in situations where consumers made the disputed purchase on a different web page. In particular, defendant Gary Cardone marketed the company's services to new clients, negotiated pricing, and directed the company's VAP service. VAP, again, that value-added service. So it turns out that if you own a company, if you're a merchant and you've got a lot of chargebacks that you're being hit with, a higher percentage of chargebacks within your overall transaction rate, it turns out that Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, they don't like that shit. You can actually lose the ability to accept credit cards. At the very least, it's going to hit you with a higher rate that you have to pay in order to be able to accept credit cards. So what Chargebacks911 was doing is they had this program set up that would allow these merchants, these dipshit horrible merchants that are out there like Apex Capital, Media, it would allow them to fake things, to use prepaid debit cards so that their transaction rates would go higher. They were faking the number of transaction rates out there. That way, all the chargebacks that were coming through, it wouldn't raise any flags with Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover, blah, 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 blah. Ethical? No. Illegal? Shit, I hope that's illegal. I don't know if it is or not. But if it's not, Jesus H. Christ. That's one of the things Chargebacks911 was doing, on top of sending over screenshots of shit that wasn't happening. Since at least 2011, Chargebacks911 has offered chargeback mitigation services to merchants, so fighting the chargebacks for them. And it goes into, where are these numbers? This is what's really, really interesting to me. Let me find these numbers, because since its inception, Chargebacks911 has assisted merchants in disputing chargebacks. 3 of the company's major clients, Apex Capital, F9 Advertising, Media, have been sued by the FTC for engaging in deceptive negative option marketing practices. Negative options, what that means is free trial, and then we're going to get you on recurring billing, and then we're going to fight you on that, so you have to keep paying for the bill. So basically what it means is we're going to offer you a free trial. We're going to send you the bullshit product that we've got that doesn't work. You're going to notice it doesn't work. We're going to continue to bill you for that. And then when you say, hey, I didn't authorize that billing, we're going to get in Chargebacks911 to fight that, so we get to keep the fucking money. All right. And Chargebacks911, according to FTC in the state of Florida, absolutely fought that using misleading and deceptive practices. Customers of these merchants reported that they had signed up for a free trial offer and were charged for an ongoing subscription without their knowledge or consent. Chargebacks911 disputed more than 47,000 chargebacks for Apex Capital from January 2016 to November 2018. More than 77,000 chargebacks for Media and related entity Zanello between 2017 and 2019. And more than 41,000 chargebacks for F9 Advertising from September 2016 through January 2018. That's what happens. So you got a shitload of chargebacks coming through. These 3 companies were ripping consumers off. They were absolutely screwing these consumers over. This negative option thing. You come up with a free trial, like Enzyte. Hey, we're going to make your penis bigger. So you sign on to the free trial. You think, hey, I'm just doing the free trial. I can cancel at any time. You forget about it. Or maybe you don't even know it's going to be a recurring statement, okay? You just kind of sign on because it's in small print. Hey, we're going to recur you. Every 30 days, you're going to have this recurring statement. And that happens a lot. You don't notice that shit. You don't know you're agreeing to that. Or maybe it's not even on the page that you're signing up to, which is what happens here, all right? So you fight, you get the free trial in, then 3-4 months later, you notice that, hey, this company is still billing my ass $50 a month. I'm out $200, $250 to these people. So you notify your bank, you notify your credit card issuer, hey, I didn't approve to this. They then notify AH that, hey, man, this shit's going on. So you get that chargeback. AH kicks it over to 911, who then starts sending over fake documents to fight it. And a lot of the times they were winning. How many fake documents? How many instances? Tens of thousands. In order to protect those horrible merchants that are ripping consumers off, Chargeback911 had a VAP program. Hey, what you can do is you can put all these fake transactions through prepaid debit cards. It'll boost your overall transactions up so that all these chargebacks we're handling for you, they don't raise your interest rate, and they won't. And Visa, MasterCard, Amex, and Discover, they won't kick you out. That's what goes on. So yeah, when the good guys suck, that's what goes on, because you don't have to, you don't have to do it. You don't have to. You can conduct business properly, ethically, legally, but the problem is profit. Profit. You're not making millions of dollars enough. You need to make some more. So what do? You screw over consumers in order to profit. You help these companies like, it's not like these companies. It's not like the FTC doesn't know who these companies are. Here's the F9 Advertising LLC complaint. The FTC announced today another case in a series of recent actions targeting allegedly deceptive online, quote, free trial offers that tricked consumers into enrolling in negative option plans. That's for F9. For AH, same damn thing. September 2019, the operators of a deceptive negative option scheme agreed to a court-ordered preliminary injunction temporarily barring them from a wide range of conduct. The commission announced it was returning. In 2022, the commission announced that the commission was returning $5.4 million to defrauded customers. That's AH. Here's Apex, a Latvian payment processor, and its former CEO have agreed to settle the FTC's complaint against them. The complaint alleges that they engaged in unlawful conduct that enabled a deceptive free trial offer scheme by U.S.-based defendants. That's what these three companies, three of the top clients for Chargeback911, that's the shit they were doing. And Chargeback911, according to the FTC and Florida, were helping to facilitate that. They were helping them right along, and they were giving them the means so that the credit card companies wouldn't notice the number of chargebacks coming through this VAP scheme that Chargeback911 was operating. Now, here's the thing. I posted bitching about this on LinkedIn. I've been bitching about this. Come to find out, all those quote-unquote fraud fighters, not all of them, a few of them actually signed on and commented and, supported the post, but a whole shitload of would-be fraud fighters out there who like to claim every single day they're fighting fraud, we're doing the right thing. They've kept their damn mouths shut. A lot of merchants and retailers out there who get eaten alive by fraudsters every single day, who chime in when you talk about the regular cyber criminals out there, they've kept their damn mouths shut too. Why is that? You tell me. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure that out. Scared of speaking up. Scared of being shamed along with Chargeback911. Those fraud fighters that aren't speaking up, those conferences that are sponsored by Chargeback911, not saying a damn word about it because they're scared of losing money. They're scared of losing profit. They're scared of losing a contract, a client, a job. You want to know what's wrong with the cybersecurity and fraud industry? This is a prime example. This is a prime example. You want to know why I've got apathy toward a lot of companies and people? This is a prime example. All you have to do is just do the right damn thing. But no, you're not doing that. What you're doing is is you're filtering through what you want to talk about and what you don't. Even though you know something's wrong, I don't want to call that out because I may lose some money at the end of the day. I may upset somebody. Don't worry about who you might upset by telling the truth. Worry about who you might hurt and harm by not telling the truth, by not speaking up and speaking out. That's what we should be doing, but we're not doing that. We're not doing that. I'm Brett Johnson. This is the Brett Johnson Show. This is part 1 of When the Good Guys Suck. Part 2, when I release that, maybe the next episode, maybe the episode after that, part 2, we're going to talk about how these fintech companies, specifically Blue Acorn and Womply, helped facilitate pandemic fraud, the biggest fraud that has ever occurred in the United States. I'm Brett Johnson. This is the Brett Johnson Show. What do we talk about? What do we say? We say stay vigilant, stay secure. I'm sorry, stay safe. I'm so pissed off at this episode and what I'm talking about today. I'm sorry, I apologize. Stay safe, stay secure, stay vigilant. The reason I was messing that up is because I'm anxious to get this end part. We actually say at the end of the day, just do the right damn thing. It's not that friggin' hard. I'm Brett Johnson. Thank you for watching. Until next time.